Hi there, I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Thanks for joining us on TCM, where we've lined up a double feature of movies starring Charles Boyer. In the early 1930s, Boyer, who'd been a stage star in Paris, emerged as a talented romantic actor in Hollywood, possessing a continental, dashing persona and speaking a beautiful French accented English. We begin tonight with Boyer in a remake of a pre-code Hollywood drama released in 1932, an adaptation of a Fannie Hurst novel. The first movie starred Irene Dunne and John Bowles. This remake features Boyer and Margaret Sullivan. This one's from Universal in 1941, directed by Robert Stevenson. Backstreet. Boyer and Sullivan play star-crossed lovers at the turn of the 20th century. It's a minor hiccup. Boyer is married. As the years go by, the couple commits to an extramarital affair that wreaks havoc on their lives. There isn't one woman in a million who's ever found happiness in the back streets of any man's life, Hurst said of her novel. Despite the focus being on Sullivan's character, Boyer received top billing, a condition Sullivan agreed to without hesitation. More about that after the movie. Charles Boyer grew up in a small southwestern French town, developing a love of performing early on. He studied at the Sorbonne and Paris Conservatory before appearing on stage and in silent films in France in 1920. He made French versions of German films before MGM brought him to Hollywood in 1930, where he settled into a groove, appearing in English and French language films as he bounced back and forth between Europe and Hollywood for much of the decade. Boyer's most famous role came in 1938, starring opposite Hedy Lamarr in Algiers, directed by John Cromwell. Algiers was the American version of a French film released just a year earlier, Pepe Le Moko, which starred France's top leading man at the time, Jean Gabin. If you disagreed with me that Algiers is Boyer's signature role, that's probably because you think it actually came in the 1944 MGM remake of Gaslight opposite Ingrid Bergman. And to that I say, yeah, you might be right. Hard to say. This comes right in the middle of those two classics, from 1941, also with Richard Carlson, Backstreet. Fannie Hurst, who wrote the novel Backstreet, found the casting of Charles Boyer, a Frenchman, as the Midwestern adulterer in the film perplexing. She sent the screenwriter and producer Bruce Manning a note expressing her criticism. Margaret Sullivan had no such concerns about Charles Boyer. She admired him, especially his 1940 performance in All This in Heaven 2 opposite Bette Davis, and she was eager to work with Boyer. Sullivan even guaranteed Boyer top billing. Two actors enjoyed a close friendship while making the film. Boyer later spoke of his admiration for Sullivan, who was pregnant during production and managing morning sickness. The two starred together again later in 1941 in Appointment for Love. Backstreet was a remake, and its bleak ending was a change from the original. The 1932 version would not have passed production code muster in 1941, since the original film didn't sufficiently condemn adultery. The head of the Production Code Administration, Joe Breen, made sure the same could not be said about the 1941 version, insisting the film didn't raise, quote, the slightest valid objection. Universal released a third adaptation of Fannie Hurst's novel, also titled Backstreet, in 1961, starring Susan Hayward and John Gavin. That film served as the inspiration for the 1990s boy band, the Backstreet Boys. Maybe. I mean, it's possible, right? Fine. It actually isn't possible. Coming up, Charles Boyer stars opposite Olivia de Havilland and Paulette Goddard, working off a screenplay by Billy Wilder and Charles Brackett. Hold Back the Dawn is next on TCM.
Next on TCM, Hold Back the Dawn, then A Page of Madness. And later, Zatoichi meets Yojimbo. Cross swords with TCM tonight.